The Book of Clarence is just an okay movie, which is sad because I really wanted to like this movie. But anyways, let's talk about it. As always, this video will have spoilers, so if you don't want spoilers, head over to my shorts, TikTok, or Instagram and check out my one-take movie review on this movie. But without further ado, let's talk about the movie, The Book of Clarence. So in this movie, we follow Lakeith Stanfield's character Clarence, who pretends to be the Messiah during the times of Jesus in order to earn some money and pay back the person that he owes money. And this kind of leads into all types of shenanigans while he's also trying to kind of make a name for himself and give himself a better life. Jumping right into the good, and the first thing I have here is Lakeith Stanfield himself. Now, he is pretty much the reason that I went to go see this movie. I just think he's a great actor, and I hope in the future he gets that role that really puts him on the map, but safe to say he absolutely delivered in this movie. In my opinion, he is just one of those actors that when he is on screen, he demands your attention. And he also had this little dry humor with the character of Clarence that I thought really worked for this movie. And now that I think about it and look back on some of his past roles, he really just has this dry humor with all the characters that he plays, where he says something that's not really meant to be funny, but it just is because of the way he said it. And on top of that, when it comes to showing emotion, he absolutely kills it every time. So this guy just has a wide range when it comes to acting, and you can honestly see that range throughout this entire film. I mean, there's scenes where he has to be jokey and get a laugh out of you. There's serious scenes and there's emotional scenes. I mean, you almost kind of see the whole nine with him throughout this movie. And I just hope one day that Lakeith Stanfield gets that role that really shoots him into superstardom, because he deserves it at this point. Next up for the good, I have the music. Now, yes, I did think this movie had its fair share of problems, but the music was not one of them. The music was very prevalent throughout this entire movie, and each scene that they decided to put music in only made that scene better. And let's just say I was wondering what the names of the songs were a lot in this movie. I mean, they even had a whole dance number, which in my opinion didn't really fit the movie, but the music they were playing during that scene was dope, so I just went along with it. Moving on to the so-so, and the only thing I have here is the humor. And sadly, I thought this movie would be funnier than it was, considering that when it was advertised, it was kind of advertised as being more on the comedic side of things, and I just thought there would be a lot more humor and more of a comedic side to this movie than there was. Now, for the humor that this movie did have, there were a couple of good jokes in there, but overall I really wasn't blown away by the humor in this movie. I mean, the only really funny part that actually had me genuinely laughing was Benedict Cumberbatch's White Jesus portion of the movie. I thought that was absolutely hysterical and was easily the funniest part of the movie. But outside of that, this humor was just average, which is sad because I think this movie could have been straight up hilarious considering the cast that it had. And finally, let's get into the bad. And the first thing I have here is that this movie really didn't have any identity, or it just really didn't know what it wanted to be. And this is probably one of the reasons why the humor was not the best, because they really didn't commit to the comedic side of this movie. They were just trying to do a bunch of different things in this movie. I mean, in the first half, we had a lot more humor. It was much more comedic and lighthearted and kind of what I expected this movie to be. And then in the second half, we just had a total tone switch, and this movie kind of turned into a more serious drama that wanted to push a deeper message. And for me, it just felt like I was watching two separate movies within this one movie. And in my opinion, I feel like if they were just committed to being a comedy or a more serious drama, then they would have gotten a better result. They tried to do a lot of things in this movie, and it just really didn't mesh well in the end for me. I mean, they clearly had two separate plots in the first half, in the second half, with the first half being Clarence being the Messiah and trying to get money to pay someone back, and the second half was more of a non-believer becoming a believer and trying to get that deeper message across. And I think those are two strong premises to make a movie on. I just wish they would have picked one or the other. And lastly, for the bad, I have the character development of our main character Clarence, and in my opinion, I feel like they glanced over his character development very quickly. Now, Clarence's development was kind of relegated to really one scene in my opinion. I mean, we had him faking being the Messiah throughout that first half of the movie. And then there's this scene where he kind of just looks inward, and it's a really brief scene. And then he says, "What have I become?" And then he changes and stops what he's doing immediately. And I just thought that was a really weird way to go about his character development, because leading up to that, there were no signs of him changing. I mean, everything was good. He was earning money. He was going to pay back the person that he owed money and give himself a better life. So it was really weird to have that abrupt, like, "Oh, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm done with that. Let's move on" type part in the movie. And really from that scene on, we obviously get a different Clarence throughout the rest of the movie. And I really would have just liked to see that character development happen over time instead of relegating it to that one scene. And with that scene, it just made it feel like they solved the plot of the movie very quickly, and we were really only halfway through. So there really was this what now moment now that he is not being the Messiah anymore, which is something that I thought would last throughout the entire movie. And that's another reason why I felt like this was two different films inside of one movie, because they solved the original plot of the movie about halfway through this one and then moved on to the second part. And even though it probably would have been a pretty terrible ending, but they could have ended it right there in the middle of the movie if they wanted to. All in all, I don't think The Book of Clarence is a bad movie. I just don't think what they tried to do meshed well. Lakeith Stanfield was easily the best part, and it had good music, but that's about it in my opinion. I feel like this movie had a lot of untapped potential, so you can see it at your own risk. Those are my thoughts on The Book of Clarence. Be sure to let me know what you thought of the movie down in the comments, and as always, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, get your Eazy Apparel at shopeasyapparel.com. God bless, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.